Okay, welcome everybody to ANC3C's July 2022 meeting. Rachel, could you kick us off with establishment of quorum and then verification of notice?
Yes, let me just figure out who's all here commissioner-wise. I can already see we have enough. And notice has been sent to all of the listservs and posted on our website.
Great, thank you very much. And we will now go through the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I would like to make an addition to the regular agenda.
Okay, let me share the agenda currently as it's written in the chat.
Awesome.
There we go. Okay, Commissioner Paggets, yes, you have a proposed amendment?
Yes, I do. It is a resolution in support regarding Woodley Park's participation in the 2022 Art All Night, which is happening Saturday, September 24th. I can post a draft that has been friendly amended, I believe. Give me a minute though, unless somebody else has it handy.
I think we can just add it to the agenda and you can introduce it later when you have the draft. I don't have a draft of it, of the friendly amended one.
I can try and pull it up. That helps.
Okay, so
I'd like to make a motion. Ooh, can I make a motion to move that to consent? Or
well,
absolutely.
So what we're not going to go over the resolution now. The question is, Commissioner Paggets, whether you want to have the resolution discussed during the general meeting or put on the consent calendar.
I didn't know I had a choice to do that. I mean, if all the commissioners have seen it and are in agreement with it, then I would ask to have it added to the agenda on the consent calendar.
And just very very high overview for the public because they've not had a chance to see it. It is a resolution supporting the Art All Night as performed by Woodley Park Main Street, correct?
Yes, the participation in the larger district event of Art All Night. It would be the first time Woodley Park would be participating in it. The dry run happened in June with kind of a Father's Day market event. It was very well received. It was just okay.
Well, yeah, that's great. Thank you. So is there any objection to moving the Woodley Park Main Street resolution, Art All Night resolution to the consent calendar?
No, but I heard you're breaking up, but I heard friendly. So are we moving, Janelle, the resolution that I sent you? I was in a meeting right before this meeting, so I wasn't able to check last minute email.
Yeah, no, I'm taking all of your changes along with Commissioner Siddiqui also had some very minor like spelling changes and Commissioner Siddiqui, you can correct me if I'm wrong with that. But we'll combine those. It wasn't anything to anything any of the commissioners saw that you didn't show.
Okay.
And thank you, Commissioner Reba, for taking the time on your vacation to review and support.
Okay, thank you. And the second whereas was okay?
Commissioner Reba, did you want this on the under general business?
No,
Right.
I if we're gonna put it on consent, with I'm fine for, I just wanted to know what I was voting on the consent, that's all.
That's fair.
Thank you.
It was restaurants, right? Yeah, I don't think you fundamentally changed anything that we had.
No, I did add a second whereas, but if we're combining Commissioner Siddiqui's and my suggestions, then we'll figure it out on the back end and I'm good to consent.
Okay.
And I'll second.
No need for a second. Thank you, Commissioner Reba. Okay, so is there any further amendments to the agenda, or can we
Yes, Commissioner Finley. I'd like to propose 2 more amendments.
Okay, Commissioner Siddiqui.
I'd like to propose moving consideration of a grant application for Feed the Family Ward 3 Food Pantry for $3,000 to the consent calendar.
Is there any objection, fellow commissioners?
Yes, we have a couple questions about that.
Okay, well, let's not
All
do
right.
that.
So then,
And then
the other item?
the other item was consideration of an ABRA Schedule C license renewal for Omni Showroom Hotel at 2500 Calvert Street to the consent calendar.
I believe that was Commissioner Dyers.
Yes, so I'm not really sure of the procedural process here, but the neighbors have been meeting with the Omni Showroom. They have decided, they think they're going to be able to work through the issues, but they have decided this time not to pursue any protest of the license renewal. So for now, one of the neighbors was supposed to come on, but I had told him that it was on the regular calendar and it'll be later on, but that's basically the message she was going to deliver, that they've decided at this time not to pursue a protest.
Okay, so Commissioner Dyer, this is unanimous essentially. So if you do not want this on the consent calendar, it does not have to be on the consent calendar.
So, well, I mean, I guess what's the point? I mean, what is the position of the consent calendar? I mean, there is no motion. This was just sort of an update of what was going on.
Okay, I thought you had a resolution. I'm sorry.
We have no resolution. I mean, we were hoping there would be a resolution, but the neighbors and the hotel didn't come to an agreement, and they don't expect to come to a written agreement other than what they have been discussing via emails, etc.
Okay, and is anybody coming from that group, do you think, this evening?
I don't believe so. I haven't heard.
Okay, so I'd like to keep it on our general business for the evening. I think that, that way, in case somebody does show up to talk about it, we can talk about it then. But since there is no resolution on it, then it doesn't need to be moved to consent. And if we are not, the discussion is short. The discussion is short.
Exactly. That's perfect.
All right, sounds good. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll consider approved. And now we move to announcements. Commissioners, do you have any announcements?
Wait, can you recap what we just voted to approve on consent and what we didn't? So we have that on.
Yes. So I'll do that when we get to the consent calendar portion of the agenda. Thanks, Commissioner Baggins. Okay, now it's time for the community forum. And this is where members of the public are invited to ask questions and raise concerns about issues that are not otherwise on tonight's agenda. Anybody? Okay, Amir.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening. My name is Amir Guravantab. I'm from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services, affectionately known as MOKERS. And I'll keep it quick tonight. I just have a quick few updates from the government, some older, some more recent, just a few programs that I want to share with everyone. One of them relates to COVID. It's a federal program, the Homeowners Assistance Fund, which DC has begun implementing as part of its funding. So this is a resource for any homeowner that has fallen behind on payments for utilities, mortgages, any sort of necessary payments required to keep their house that are due to COVID. They can apply for this assistance. And I believe it's similar to the SADC in that you can apply for back rent or going forward. And I'll send the link to that in the chat. That also ties into this program called the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is another federal program that allows you to reduce your internet bill by $30 a month if you qualify for any sort of federal assistance program. So that includes Medicaid, SSI insurance, food stamps, anything like that. So that could include a lot of seniors as well. So that drops your internet bill by $30. So those two together, very important funds right now. Also wanted to make an announcement that the mayor had a press conference this morning related to the monkeypox epidemic. Right now, DC has actually grown to be the place in the United States with the highest number of cases per capita. So she released a newsletter last night that I can link the chat to. It basically goes into greater detail explaining how exactly the virus is transmitted. and the fact that DC is now using a federal stockpile of vaccines to get out pre-registration vaccination slots. So similar to how we did the COVID rollout in the early stages, there are pre-registration slots that open up for the monkeypox vaccine on different days. And I think they have different vaccines. I'm not exactly sure which ones they're using, but I believe they're also 2-dose series vaccines, just like the COVID ones. And those are currently being prioritized for certain groups that are considered more at risk. And I'll put more information in the chat to link that. Finally, I wanted to mention the private security camera rebate. That one's been going on for a while. That one's actually run by MPD. And what that is if you buy a security camera that is pretty, the qualifications are pretty minimum. So anything on the market like a Ring camera or Vivint, something like that would probably qualify. And you can get a rebate from the Metropolitan Police Department if you register with them and have that number given to them. They can give you, depends on the size and how many cameras you have, but they have different numbers of rebate money that they give back to you. So we've heard reports over in other parts of Ward 3 that there's been arsons going on in people's garages and in dumpsters and stuff like that. And for anyone who has concerns about security, safety, public safety, anything like that, this is definitely a good resource to have. And finally, actually, there is one more thing. We're going to have possibly a storm tonight. I'm not sure if it's moved out of the radar. And I did make an announcement on Twitter and on the listservs, but if anyone notices anything like a down branch or wire or traffic light, just to please report it to our office so that we can get it done as soon as possible. And we don't have to wait for the storm is done to assess anything like that. And I'll be sure to leave my contact in the chat for anyone that needs that. But yeah, with that, if anyone has any questions or concerns, I can take that. But that about concludes it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Amir. Commissioner McWood.
Amir, I have a couple of questions on the utility assistance that you talked about initially. How long does it take to process those applications and get the utility assistance to a renter? And does applying for this funding forestall any sort of turnoffs, utility turnoffs?
I'm not sure as to those specifically, but if there's any issues with getting an application process through, if it's taking a while, I recommend anyone to reach out to me, and we can see if someone within one of the agencies that is in charge of processing these can expedite this. But I'm not actually sure if they have a specific timeline that they follow by, and whether applying to this program forestalls any shutoffs. I would imagine it does, but I'm not enlightened on that one.
Okay. If I would really recommend that the mayor's office talk to the utilities about cooperating with regard to that. It may, and as you say, it may well be that they already are. The other question I had was about monkeypox. It's obviously good news that the vaccine is going to be available in DC. Are we doing anything to get the message out to targeted populations that are most vulnerable for monkeypox?
Yes, I believe the Mayor's Office of LGBTQ Affairs has been leading the charge, especially on that one. They're the ones that were mainly responsible for the press conference today. So that includes dropping off leaflets, flyers, stuff like that in areas where demographics are more likely to be in. And one of the links I sent does actually include the most at-risk demographics that are assigned priority status for getting the vaccine.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you for your questions.
Great. Any other announcements from the community? Any questions? Any issues? Okay. I don't see any. But so moving on, the consent calendar this evening, which was passed when the agenda was voted to be approved, includes historic preservation review. I application for the cathedral for an addition and renovation of the St. Albans School's Little Sanctuary. Then also a Historic Preservation Review Board application for 2808 Ordway Street for a 2-story rear addition. And the Abra Schedule C license renewal for Hot and Juicy Crawfish in Woodley Park, as well as the, I'm sorry, which one was it? Oh, the Woodley Park Main Street support for
Art
All Night. Thank you, Commissioner Reba. Yes. So that was passed through the consent calendar, and now we move on to commission business. First item on commission business, I believe Commissioner McWood, this is yours. It's consideration of a zoning commission case for Wisco Wally for a map amendment.
Yes. Would you like me to, the applicant is here and the applicant's attorney counsel is also here. We're particularly familiar with this project because we considered an Historic Preservation Review Board application for this site, and then that was withdrawn or postponed. I'm not sure what the current status is, while a rezoning application was submitted to the zoning commission, and that is what we are considering tonight. The applicants did attend the July Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, and the application has been set down for a hearing. I don't believe a hearing date has yet been scheduled, but it will be in short order. So I'm not sure that we need to have another presentation, Mr. Chairman, unless you would like that. The resolution actually may explain what's being proposed to the public, any public attending this meeting who's not familiar with the project, but whichever way you'd like to go.
Yeah. Why don't you read the resolution, including the whereases, and then if there are further questions or anything like that, I'm sure we can give a brief overview if need be.
Okay. And as I said, the applicant and the applicant's attorney are here, so they can answer any questions anyone has. The resolution is fairly short. Whereas Wisco Wally LLC has submitted a map amendment application to the DC Zoning Commission to rezone a 15,320 square foot portion of lots 20 and 27 in square 1913. Lot A in the attached subdivision sketch, also referred to as the property, from RA1, which is consistent with low to moderate density residential apartment designation, to the RA2 zone, which is consistent with moderate density apartment designations. And whereas the property is located at 3427 and 3433 Wisconsin Avenue Northwest in the Rock Creek West planning area, and whereas map amendments are considered for compliance with the comprehensive plan and not based on a specific development proposal, and whereas the future land use map of the comprehensive plan designates the property for moderate density residential development, and the framework element states that the RA2 zone is one of the zones that are consistent with moderate density residential. And whereas the property is located within a future planning analysis area, whereas rezoning is not allowed prior to the completion of a planning process, but in this instance, the property meets an exemption to the planning requirement because the requested zoning change was authorized in the 2012 comprehensive plan. And whereas the RA2 zone would allow the property to be developed with greater density than is permitted under the current RA1 zoning. And that leads to the potential for the development of more housing units, including more affordable housing units. And whereas it is established policy that the Rock Creek West planning area needs more affordable housing, and there is a specific goal to create 1,990 affordable units by 2025. And whereas the increased density resulting from the rezoning should be accompanied by a requirement that 20% of the residential square footage be set aside for affordable housing per the IZ Plus program, which would double the current requirement. And whereas the Office of Planning set down report and the Office of the Attorney General set down comment supported applying a 20% IZ plus requirement to this map amendment application. Be it resolved that ANC3C supports the map amendment application and supports applying a 20% IZ plus requirement to any future development resulting from this rezoning. Be it resolved that the chair and the commissioner for 3C09 are authorized to represent the commission on this matter. I move the resolution.
Second.
Great. Tied. So thank you, Commissioner McWood. Fellow commissioners, do you have any questions? Okay. Now, folks who are attending, do you have any questions about Commissioner McWood's resolution?
While we're waiting for that, could I ask if the applicant or the applicant's attorney want to make any comment?
Yeah, let's do that. Beck and Marty, are they? Okay. I see Beck. Beck, I'm going to ask you to unmute. No pressure there, though. And Marty, I see you're unmuted.
There he is.
Yeah, hi. I don't have anything to add to that. I think the resolution is really comprehensive.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Folks, if you have any questions about the application or for the applicant, click the reactions button and choose raise hand, and we'll see you and unmute you. Alternatively, you could post your question in the chat. Okay, let's see any questions. Fellow commissioners looking at the screen, do you guys see anything either or as well? Okay, great. Okay, so we'll move to a vote on the resolution. All those in favor of Commissioner McWood's resolution?
Oh, can I ask for a roll call?
You certainly may. All right, roll call vote.
Good.
Rachel, would you do the honors?
Yes. Hold one moment. Okay. Commissioner Reba.
Aye.
Commissioner Fink.
Yes.
Commissioner Pagets.
Yes.
Commissioner Finley.
Yay.
Commissioner Siddiqui.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoyt is absent. Commissioner Boucher.
Yes.
Commissioner Dyer.
Yes.
Commissioner McWood.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we thank you, Marty. Thank you, Beck. Thank you.
Thank you,
Commissioner.
everyone.
Thank you.
Now we move to consideration of a grant application for Feed the Family Ward 3 pantry for $3,000. And is this Commissioner Pagets or Commissioner Siddiqui?
We're a team.
Yeah, Commissioner Pagets, why don't you go ahead, because you ushered this all, or if you want, I'm happy to read it. I have it pulled up too.
Well, what do you want us to read, Commissioner Finley, Chair Finley? This was passed around. I understand Commissioner Shea has questions, but I'm happy to read whatever.
Why don't you read the whole thing?
Oh dear.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is the resolution regarding Feed the Family Ward 3 food pantry grant application for $3,000 from ANC3C. Whereas Feed the Family has applied for a $3,000 grant from ANC3C to fund the distribution of fresh produce and household cleaning supplies to Ward 3 residents, including residents in ANC3C. Whereas the Capital Food Bank area has identified the census tract immediately surrounding UDC's Van Ness campus, where the pantry is located at 4225 Connecticut Avenue Northwest, is experiencing a high concentration of food insecurity. Whereas each Sunday, about 100 neighbors visit the pantry to pick up fresh produce and cleaning supplies, whereas the pantry volunteers deliver 35 bags of groceries to seniors who are unable to pick up at the pantry. Whereas low-income residents, including seniors and disabled people living on fixed incomes, working people earning low wages, and recently arrived refugees benefit weekly from fresh produce, self-stable food, and household cleaning and personal hygiene items provided by the pantry. Whereas the pantry improves the nutritional status of low-income people by providing fresh produce and promotes healthy living conditions by providing cleaning supplies. Whereas respect and dignity are a core value of the pantry, which is much more than a source of food and other necessities. It's a meeting place for volunteers and visitors to find ways to help one another, to share advice, networking resources, and building community. Whereas the DC Council passed emergency legislation to permit advisory neighborhood commissions to spend public funds on food purchase grants while the mayor's order is in effect. Whereas the ANC3C grant guidelines state that a grant application should present a grant request at a public meeting, and that the commission will consider approving the grant at the subsequent meeting. And whereas ANC grant guidelines require the grantee to submit in accounting with receipts of expenditure of grants within 60 days of public funds being dispersed, be it resolved that ANC3C waives the guidelines extending the review of the grant application requests over a 2-month period for the Ward 3 Feed the Family Food grant application because of the extraordinary public health situation affecting Ward 3 and ANC3C residents. Be it further resolved that ANC3C approves the grant request for $3,000, provided Ward 3 Feed the Family agree to comply with the ANC3C grant guidelines with respect to expenditure of funds, maintenance of receipts, and accounting procedures. Be resolved, the chair, the treasurer, and the commissioner for 3C03 and or their designee are authorized to represent the commissioner on this matter.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Packus. Thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui.
Chair Findley, I believe Alyssa Braver and Judith Ingram are here. I was wondering if we can give them a chance to also speak.
Certainly.
As well, if they wanted to add anything.
They're the applicants to make that crystal. On behalf of all the families that benefit from this.
And you said it was Ms. Braver and who else?
Judith
Ms.
Ingram.
Okay, great. It was unmuted.
Elisa actually helped write the proposal, so I will let Elisa take the lead. I just wanted to thank the commissioners and our neighbors for the support that you've shown to the pantry, which is about 14 months old. We have quite a number of guests living in your commission area. And I think they're tremendously grateful for the support that has been shown over the past several months for them. And we also have quite a few volunteers from your area. So thanks very much for considering the proposal.
And yeah, we are this is Elisa Braver. Hello. And yeah, we invite all of you to come visit the pantry on any Sunday that's convenient for you. We're open 1 to 3 for distribution, so you can get a better idea of it. But I spoke to each one of the pantry visitors on a recent Sunday, and they said that this was really a lifeline for them, and it was very important. So you had some grandmothers raising children who need help. You had disabled people coming. You have older people who this helps a whole lot. You have immigrants and refugees who came and I spoke to. So I thank you for considering this grant application. I think it's a very good way to use the funds.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Braver. Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Commissioners, do you have any questions? I think Commissioner Boucher, you had some questions about the application. If you're ready to go, or if other commissioners are ready to chime in.
Well, I'll jump in real quick. There's no question that the organization does incredible work and that it is absolutely filling a need in our society. I have been to the pantry visiting, and I've seen the good work of your volunteers, but I've also seen some of the vehicles that pull up. And my concern, not to say that this is going to sway my vote, but I will share with you that one of my concerns is that all the good work that you do and the assistance that you're being provided with is going to the residents of Ward 3 and certainly benefiting the residents of 3C. Typically, these grants have always benefited and provided direct services to the single member districts all 9 of us serve. And in this case, because of the extenuating circumstances, obviously that is not the case. But what is also not documented and questioned is where these individuals are coming from. And my concern with the vehicles that pull up from Maryland and Virginia.
Judy, would you like to answer that?
Sure. So unlike other pantries, we do not require proof of eligibility. Everybody who comes to the pantry is assumed to need our services. We are aware, of course, that there are people coming from beyond the district boundaries. Some of those are, for example, refugees from Afghanistan who simply are trying to go to every possible site where they can get some aid, and they come to us looking not just for food and cleaning supplies, but diapers. So, I have to be straight, of course, we do have people from beyond Ward 3 and beyond the district, and we don't turn anybody away. And that's something I believe in very strongly. We did have a very targeted grant last year from ANC3C, which is in Chevy Chase. And that was $2,000, close to $2,000, that was specifically earmarked to buy a refrigerator to support deliveries to the inhabitants, the residents of Regency House, which is a DC housing authority residence for low income residents of DC. We could perhaps figure out a way to carve out a specific need for your ANC. We do know I can provide certainly some demographic. We do a survey each Sunday of who's coming. We get zip codes, we get block and street numbers, so we can give you a good idea of the number of people that are coming from ANC3C. I would point out that one of our biggest addresses is Sedgwick Gardens, which is moving, I believe, into your boundaries. So, we don't limit. We will, we can't limit our services simply to Ward 3 and the residents very close by. However, because of the proximity, I think we have quite a number of people, and I'd be happy to provide you with some statistics over the past few weeks on that, so you can see, you could sort of map out where people are coming from.
I would like to say something quickly. The majority of people coming are from Washington, D.C., and the majority are from Ward 3. There are a few coming from outside Ward 3, and we're very happy to help them. There are a few coming from outside D.C., as Judy mentioned, but I think that we can be very confident the majority of people who are benefiting are people who live in the apartment buildings up and down Connecticut Avenue.
Thank you. Commissioner Boucher?
Can you ask for proof of residence to ensure that we're supporting Ward 3 residents?
I would not undertake to do that.
I actually believe that's against the law. Because
So
that's,
if we're providing a grant to benefit the residents of Ward 3, it's not against the law. You can ask for where the money is being utilized, and having a proof of residence guarantees that the money is going to Ward 3, which is the purpose of our grant.
Well, let me just add, not only to the residents of Ward 3, but to the residents of the District of Columbia, where these monies are being generated from. I mean, again, no one's questioning the good work that this organization is providing. Kudos to you and your volunteerism and your volunteers that, that donate their time every week. I mean, bless them. And I mean that wholeheartedly. But I want to ensure that taxpayer dollars, and that's what these are taxpayer dollars. And I just want to ensure that any means possible is being rendered to ensure that the residents of the District of Columbia are receiving these goods and services. Yes, the mayor was just on television the other day regarding the immigrants that are being bussed in from the border here to Washington, D.C. And I would encourage anybody to look into that interview that the mayor conducted. Yes, and they are being provided services and health care and shelter and food. So if other immigrants or other, clients are coming from outside the area, certainly I wouldn't want to deny any of them. But if Virginia and Maryland residents are coming in, I do have a little issue with that. And I would be remiss to the oath that I took as a commissioner if I didn't make that known. Now, again, this is not going to sway my vote. I totally support the work and everything that you do. And obviously I want to be that vote to help you get over, your threshold. But there are guidelines, rules, and regulations that we must follow. And rules and regulations that DC must follow, even when grants are coming out of other DC agencies. So, and we are no different. And that's the point that I wanted to raise this evening. So thank you.
If I could just respond,
Please.
Commissioner. I think one way to look at this is, while a $3,000 grant is a very generous grant that could help us do a lot of things, including providing shopping carts for some of our guests who take the bus up Connecticut Avenue to help pay a driver. Because, we have a lot of volunteers who can afford to volunteer. Many people can't afford it. They don't have the vehicles. They don't have the gasoline money. If we could pay somebody, that would be a wonderful thing. But the grant would not be the entire budget. And we are working day and night to find sources of free food, donated food. I'm a food rescue volunteer. I work full time. I've given up my weekends and my evenings. I'm getting a little emotional, but we are doing everything we can to find sources of support. And a $3,000 grant is very welcome. It could go a long way to helping people in your area, certainly, but we don't earmark what money goes where or what donations go where. We get, we drive out to Hyattsville to Catholic Charities and bring back tons of food every other week. Last week we went to Wegmans, which is just come into Ward 3. They donated 400 pounds of prepared food. We're really working hard not to spend any money, actually. We're trying to get, rent-free space, as I'm sure you've read. We're struggling, and we're providing a service that, we wish that the DC government were doing more. We'd wish other organizations were doing more. This grew out of mutual aid. This grew out of the recognition that not enough is being done for people, and we could step in. I could afford to do it. Elisa could afford to do it. Our colleagues could afford to do it. Other ANCs have stepped up. They may have put some frameworks around the money that they're providing, but I think, I would think it's unreasonable to require that the $3,000 that your ANC provides goes only to the residents of your your area. I mean, for one thing, that puts a huge burden on ANC3F,
It's
which
not,
has a
on-
tremendous number of people.
I want to move the conversation forward. I appreciate your response. Again, I thank you for what you're doing, but we're talking about DC taxpayer dollars. We're not talking about items from Catholic Charity or Wagmans. We're talking about DC taxpayer dollars that's to be used for DC residents. And I'm sorry that you're not understanding that, and that you want to say that 3,000 isn't really a lot that we're talking about, so it really shouldn't matter. A dollar matters if you're following the guidelines and rules and regulations of the government of the District of Columbia. Again, this is not going to sway my vote, but it's something that you should be mindful of when going after government, DC government agency. And maybe you can go to the Office of Grants and Partnership, and they can explain it to you in a way that I can't, since this is an area of expertise for them. But I'm giving you the overall picture of what the guidelines are. And we as an ANC, until the pandemic, we never gave monies that benefited residents outside of Ward 3. And we never gave monies or grants to those that benefited individuals from Maryland and Virginia. That's all. That's the way the guidelines and rules and regulations have been set.
Thank you, Commissioner Reba. Commissioner McWood, you've had your virtual hand up for a while.
First of all, I want to thank Ms. Ingram and Ms. Braver for what you're doing. It is something that is absolutely essential, and you're meeting a critical need that we all wish wasn't out there. And the need is much greater than one pantry can satisfy. But the effort that you're making is certainly something that we all should support and be grateful for the work that you're doing. I think that what you're hearing, I think, from a few of the commissioners is a reflection of the restrictions that are placed on us regarding what we can approve for grants. It has nothing to do with the merits of your program. It has to do with some of the legalese of the restrictions on grants. And prior to COVID, for example, we were not allowed to use grant monies for food. That was changed during COVID because it was recognized by the council that there was this enormous need and that ANC grant monies could be helpful. So the grant program was liberalized to allow us to do that. What I'm wondering, and what happens is if the auditor determines that we have spent grant monies inappropriately in violation of DC law, then they dock our allotment. We basically end up having to reimburse the government for whatever those grant monies were. So my question to the sponsors of the resolution, Commissioner Siddiqui and Commissioner Baggett, is, do you know, have you had any conversations with the Office of ANCs perhaps as to whether this type of grant will be allowed? I certainly think it should be, but I understand the concerns that are being raised, and this may be a gap in what the council has liberalized as far as our grants are concerned. But do you know whether this will be approved by the auditor?
Commissioner Stee, I'll answer, or you can answer. He's the treasurer, I'm the chair of the Community Engagement and Grants Committee, and we have gone through this process in detail, and we have submitted to each of the commissioners on this commission the grant application that includes all of the background information, all of the grants that this organization was given by other ANCs, their clean hands, all of the stuff that's required by OANC for us to, as officers of this commission, to submit this grant application. We've done the due diligence. They've supplied the information. They've been given grants by other ANCs. And some of them were really specific, like what they're asking for us, which was included in the grant application that all you all got in your emails to review. A laptop, that was a specific line item spending for that to maintain inventory and tracking of that. And then also a grocery cart to get the carts out to other people. And then I think there's $1,500 left over in that budget for this particular grant. Our only change to the application was that they get the receipts done and filed to us by the beginning of December, because we know that the ANC is going to go through the redistricting process and those funds are going to be allocated. So we actually thought ahead about how we would be affected. But we want to get the funds out as soon as possible to the people that need them.
Do you know if some of the grants that have been approved by other ANCs are similar to the? I understand that some ANCs have made very specific targeted grants, and I'm guessing they did that in order to evade this loophole.
They did that. They did that in the past 2 years during what you call a loophole. I wouldn't consider it a loophole. I would consider it meeting a need. And
when I said loophole, I'm referring to this notion that we're restricted in what we can spend our grant monies on. So I'm just trying to determine if our resolution is similar in context to what other ANCs have approved in terms of grants, and assuming that those grant approvals were approved by the auditor. So which would indicate to me we're on very safe grounds in approving this particular resolution in the way that it's being proposed.
Commissioner McQuid, I'll just quickly say yes. So I think this is similar to other grant applications. We've run the rules by OANC.
Right.
And so,
okay.
But again, that's Commissioner Paggett's and my due diligence. Again, I'm the treasurer, so it's probably my neck and Commissioner Finley's neck that gets us in trouble if something happens. But from my due diligence and Commissioner Paggett's, I believe she can speak for herself. Everything looks fine.
Great. I think that satisfies a lot of questions. Thank you for that.
Perfect. You're welcome.
I dealt with an almost identical grant, and it does matter if it's with DC residents or not. With Ward 3 mutual aid when it first started, and it was very difficult to ensure that was going to get approved. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask that these $3,000 be, if there's 95% of people that attend this, that go to the food pantry. Can I finish, please? That go to the food pantry are Ward 3 residents, then I think that it's also reasonable to ask that these monies go to those residents. But more concerning than that is, and my question that I want you to tell us more about is, we've had short-term plans for this food pantry, and I wonder about the sustainability and the long-term viability after August. What does that look like? What is your plan? What is your hope? I worry that what was our last grant that went to the pantry? The amount of money?
We haven't given a grant to the pantry. We've given to Ward 3 mutual aid.
Okay.
Correct. This is a different organization. They might have joint missions, but go ahead, Solid. I mean, I don't have the.
Yeah, I just quickly wanted to respond to Commissioner Boucher because she was saying the requirement of the Ward 3 residents.
You know her,
from a-
you know her long-term plan. I really want to hear more about
Okay,
this
we can
program.
answer.
Instead of the rebuttal, it's really important that we ask questions of the applicant in order to understand more. I would really appreciate if we can do that.
So I would be happy to address that,
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Boucher. I assume that you're talking about the fact that UDC is ending our memorandum of understanding. So we've been in a temporary space at UDC for 14 months. We are in active talks with the president of UDC, who assured me and the co-founder of the pantry that the university is making a good faith effort to find alternate space on campus or along Connecticut Avenue. And we're taking him at his word. We certainly have our feelers out for other space. This, as I mentioned before, this did start as a project growing out of Ward 3 Mutual Aid, which is, if you dealt with a grant from Ward 3 Mutual Aid, you know it's basically a very informal organization that tries to put as much of the resources directly to the people that need the help. So we are not big fundraisers. We are not in a position to pay much in the way of rent. Our biggest expense right now is an insurance policy, which allows us to stay at UDC. I mean, it has up to now. Our plan is to find, if UDC cannot come up with space, then we'll find other space somewhere along the Connecticut Avenue corridor, because that's where there's the greatest concentration of people that we serve. So, I'm in this for the long run. I'm 62 years old. I'll do this as long as I can. We have a dedicated core of volunteers. About 25 to 30 of them show up every weekend to serve their neighbors. We have a network of donors. I mentioned Food Rescue, Catholic Charities, Capital Area Food Bank, Franciscan Monastery, Addis Israel, which is in your area, I guess. So, over the past year, we've really grown our mission, and we've grown our contacts. And so far, with the exception of the uncertainty about where we're going to be located, it's working. We have a lot of very grateful neighbors. And those would be both the people who receive food from us and the people who donate, because it allows people to make a difference in their own community. People can come and drop off things at our pantry every weekend. They don't have to make a long trip, and they can see the impact they're having just by coming to the pantry. I would really encourage you to please come this Sunday and take a look at how we work. And it's not because I think I've done a great thing or Lisa's done a great thing. It's because this whole group of people has, I think, done a pretty amazing thing with very, very little in the way of resources. So we would be grateful for any help you give us, but we'd especially be grateful if all of you would come and visit the pantry, volunteer, get to know your neighbors. There was a line in the grant resolution. I hope that you all heard it, which is that this is not just a place where we hand out food, it's a place where we come together to find solutions. And it's unusual in our ward to have a place where people from all different walks of life are working together. I know it sounds a little sanctimonious, but it's kind of magical to watch. So again, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Other Commissioner Siddiqui, and after you, we'll go to Mr. Bernier.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to quickly state, if we're discussing this, I should tell everyone how much money we have in our account. So in our checking account, we have $61,825.78. In our savings account, we have $29,211.33. So a total about $90,000. And I know I didn't state this earlier, but I just wanted to say that I am not in favor of us means testing how people need to support other people with food. I think that's too much of a burden on the applicant. And I also think that no part of this grant says that this will be spent on non-DC residents. We didn't ask Ward 3 Mutual Aid for that either. So it's not that we're giving money to non-DC residents. like they said, majority of this will go to DC residents. But again, I don't think we can have something in the resolution that has any type of means testing on giving hungry people food.
Can I just
Yes.
ask as a follow-up to that, how much historically over the past, let's say 6 years, has 3C given out in grants?
I'd say we probably give out, what, about 5,000 a year the past 2 years?
The past 2 years, let's
That's
say
but wait,
prior
stop.
to the 2 years.
That's
No, I
unrealistic.
still have a
Hey, Janelle, so I was treasurer and I also dealt with the fallout from our bank account being stolen. So Miss Commissioner Finley and I was not treasurer during that. Why are you looking at me like I don't appreciate, it's not a if we have the money to do it or not. It's we're asking questions to garner more information, to be informed. Just because you write a resolution doesn't mean that we can't ask questions of the applicant. It's disrespectful to us when it's if you don't do this as a commissioner, then you are the scum of the earth. That's how it feels when you communicate like this with us. So because this is before Commissioner Siddiqui was elected also, and I was treasurer before him. Our account was completely wiped out by international money thieves. Being such, we had, it wasn't, we didn't have the ability to pay funds that we didn't have. So to ask that in recent terms is unreasonable. This is not about the money in our account, okay? Please be respectful of us. This is not cool.
No, it's not about the money. And if we may, I'd like to call the question.
Commissioner Reba, I was actually hoping we could hear from the public. We've got some folks who've been looking to talk, and we can come back to discussion of the resolution after that. How's that sound?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Bernier, thank you for your patience. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Yeah, thanks. My name is Daniel Bernier. I am a resident here in ANC3 and a taxpayer. Tax quite heavily, I might add. And I'm absolutely okay with funds being spent this way. If the commissioners in charge of the grants and committee think that it meets all the legalese and legal requirements, then I trust them as our elected officials to represent us and our community, right? I will say that, you know, regardless of whom the food pantry serves, right, it's building community here in Ward 3. I've been out to the food pantry and volunteered some of my time to do some social media posts, and, you know, people are there at 10 a.m. having conversations, right? And drinking coffee and generally just, you know, having you know, creating an environment, and that's important, really important, you know, not just for the people that it serves, but the people that go and volunteer their time there, just like me. Now, I also volunteer with Ward 3 Mutual Aid, and I run their social media accounts. You know, Mutual Aid is structured in a way, and very early on, I was told that we only support, you know, Ward 3 residents. And I get contacted quite frequently on social media from people that are in need. When it's cold out, they tell me they're cold and scared, and I get to hand them a phone number and, you know, maybe send somebody if they consent to that. And we get requests from New York City and New Zealand, and I regularly turn these people away. I turn them away and say, I'm sorry, you don't live here, so I can't help you. I can't tell you how fucking awful that is to ask somebody to do that to another human being. I just really, wow. It's really an awful feeling. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bernier. Any other comments from the public?
I just got to jump in and say, no one's going to disagree with the gentleman that just spoke. It is an awful feeling when you can't help another individual. That's why myself, when I see people standing outside Z-Burger or the Container Store or Chick-fil-A or 7-Eleven, I always help out when I have money in my pocket. I always want to give, but when you're governed by the laws and regulations, one has to be prudent to make sure that the dollars you're spending doesn't violate. No one's questioning the expertise of those that have put this through the test, but we do have a responsibility to ask the questions, particularly if we haven't been part of the process. We need to reassure our vote that all the checks and balances have been made. And that's all that anybody would expect anybody to do that's either responsible for taxpayer dollars or has a position of trust. That's all. No one's trying to insult anybody, but we have a responsibility to ask the questions, just to do a check and balance. That's all. So I don't know, Mr. Chair, if you want to let Mr. Rodriguez speak, and then maybe we can call the question to vote, I'd be happy to second that. Thank you.
We've got Ms. Zork first, and then Mr. Rodriguez.
Hi, yeah, thank you for letting me speak. I think the one thing that I want to respond to is that I think we heard that this isn't a matter of a legal issue, and the burden would be on, for implementation would be on the organization that currently has volunteers working for them. It doesn't make a lot of sense to, have somebody stand and check IDs, particularly when people who are unhoused in DC have a really hard time accessing IDs. Like for example, I have housing, I live in this district. Yes, I should have changed my ID over a long time ago, but I'm a student and I pay taxes here, but I would be turned away in that situation. And I would say it's reasonable that we have students here from out of state who aren't going to change their IDs and plates, et cetera. There's just a lot of people that actually live here that I think we would be turning away. And also we would be creating a big burden for this organization, and the ethics of it turning it away don't seem right. I think if we can hear that, the majority of folks are coming from DC, then that should be enough, especially if there's not a legal issue.
Thank you, Ms. Zork. Mr. Rodriguez.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Julio Rodriguez. I'm in this ANC. I'm at 2801 Quebec Street North. Ms. Ingram, just want to thank you for what you're doing. Happy to help support with helping write grants. If possible, try to volunteer. My work schedule is a bit nuts, but happy to support in that way. I would just say, I think that the work of an ANC is probably really hard. You guys are unpaid and you have to run for office. I would, however, encourage you, if you have a lot of these questions, to try to check in with the organization ahead of time. We've spent almost 30 minutes talking about this, and if we all got paid minimum wage, that's almost $600 that we've all spent collectively. Our time is equally as important. So I encourage all the commissioners, if they have the capacity and time, to also go out and volunteer. And we heard from Ms. Ingram, there's a need to get a space. For those of you that have lived in DC for a long time, that's a great next step to help support. So Ms. Ingram, thank you again so much for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Okay, now it seems like we've wrapped up public comment. Commissioner Reba.
I just want to say in closing, I appreciate Mr. Rodriguez's statement, but there's a reason and a formality of public meetings. This is the purpose of a public meeting. So residents of the district can hear these conversations, ensure that we're asking the correct questions, to ensure people hear the appropriate responses. This is not a waste of anybody's time. This is exactly the purpose of a public meeting. Can we call the question now?
You can call the question, yes. I believe, although at this point, might be, is there a second to calling a question?
Second.
Okay. So all those in favor of ending discussion and calling the resolution in question, this is not a vote on the resolution. It is a vote on ending debate to vote on the resolution. All those in favor of calling a question, please raise your hand.
I'd hate to call it a debate. It was really a.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and so Commissioner Dyer,
What? Yeah.
Commissioner Pagets? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Boucher? The ayes have it. But we've got.
Are you doing roll call or not?
I was just seeing if you want. I didn't. I was not roll call, but I was trying to see what your vote was, just so I made sure I got the numbers right. But okay, so now we move to voting on the resolution. As it stands, there have been no edits. All those in favor of the
Could
resolution?
we request a roll call vote, please?
Yes,
Yeah.
Commissioner Siddiqui. Yes. All right, Rachel, could you do the honors?
Yes, give me just 1 second to get
Thank you.
myself ready. Okay, Commissioner Reba,
Commissioner Reba, you're muted.
Happily, yes. Thank you.
Commissioner Fink,
Yes.
Commissioner Pagets,
Yes.
Commissioner Finley,
Yes.
Commissioner Siddiqui,
Yes.
Commissioner Boucher,
I abstain.
Commissioner Dyer,
Yes.
Commissioner McWood.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so passes. Thank you all, commissioners. Thank you, Ms. Ingram and Ms. Braver. And we'll move on to the next item, which is consideration of a resolution in support of Rooted Therapeutics, application from the District of Columbia's medical marijuana dispensary at 2614 Connecticut Avenue in Woodley Park. And I believe this is Commissioner Fink's resolution.
Yes, Commissioner Fink and I co-wrote it, so I'll be presenting the resolution.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui.
Great, and I think I will read the whole resolution, if that's okay with everyone. And it has been circulated before, and I won't read the letter that's attached to it, but that has been circulated to the commission. Whereas Rooted Therapeutics LLC, founded in 2018, is a privately held, woman-owned, MBE/DBE/CBE certified cannabis firm operating in both Maryland and Washington, D.C. Whereas Rooted Therapeutics LLC owner, Christina B. Johnson, is a DC native and the first and only African-American and Latina in the United States of America to hold a cannabis cultivation license. Whereas Rooted Therapeutics LLC is a 100% BIPOC women-owned business that in DC has 80% diverse staff team members and that has recruited 60% DC resident team members. Whereas Rooted Therapeutics LLC has applied for the District of Columbia's medical marijuana dispensary at 2614 Connecticut Avenue Northwest, Washington, DC 20008. Whereas Ward 3 currently does not have a medical marijuana dispensary. Whereas Rooted Therapeutics LLC is focusing on creating a product line for patients 50 years or older who suffer from chronic pain, joint pain, and women's mental and physical health wellness. And whereas Ward 3 has a high concentration of seniors, with about 17% of the Ward 3 population aged 65 and over, compared to about 12% district-wide. Therefore, be it resolved that ANC3C requests that the application by Rooted Therapeutics LLC for the District of Columbia's medical marijuana dispensary at 2614 Connecticut Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20008 be approved. Be it further resolved that ANC3C recognizes that Rooted Therapeutics LLC has sufficiently addressed traffic, property build-out, and community benefit questions of concern to our ANC. Be it further resolved that the ANC approves the letter being attached to this resolution in support of the application by Rooted Therapeutics LLC. Be it further resolved that the ANC authorizes the chair and the commissioners for 3C02 and 3C05 to represent the commission on this matter.
Thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui. Let's see, is there a second? I'll second it.
Second.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
So Chair Finley, Ms. Christina Johnson is here. I was wondering if
Yes.
We could give her a chance to also speak.
Yes, absolutely.
If she wanted to.
Ms. Johnson has presented to us before, and I hope she yes, she can, because she presented last month. I hope she can keep it short.
Don't worry about me, Commissioner Finley. I will be keeping this very short. I just appreciate having had the opportunity to speak at last month's meeting. I don't want to take any additional time. However, I'm happy to address questions if there are any. And I look forward to hopefully a yes vote and a supportive vote.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Commissioners Siddiqui or Fink or for Ms. Johnson? Okay.
Sorry, I do have one quick question. Does our support of this preclude support of any other dispensaries or any other businesses?
Only this one at this address. So even if another dispensary came at this address, we'd have to reapprove. And if this dispensary goes to another address, we would have to do it all over again.
And how many dispensaries can be approved in the ANC?
I actually don't know, because this is going to be the first one. Ms. Johnson, do you know if there's an upper limit?
Sure. And when you mean approved, do you mean by ABRA approved, Commissioner Dwyer, or do you mean supported by the ANCs and ANC3C?
Well, I guess the first question informs the second. So it would be, what is the total limit that ABRA is allowing in each ANC? And then that would.
Sure. There's only one per ward, and there is one that more than 130 individuals demonstrated an interest to apply and compete for.
So I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yes. There is currently a mandate that there be one per ward. ANC or Ward 3 has no legal medicinal cannabis facilities that dispense. And there were more than 130 individual team applications that submitted LOIs to ABRA last summer that stipulated their interest or communicated their interest in applying for licensure in the district for a cannabis facility. So there will be one award given out. It will either be in Ward 5 or in Ward 3.
And our action on this resolution today doesn't preclude us from also supporting something else, or is this the sole dispensary? Like, basically, are we throwing our weight behind one dispensary to the exclusion?
No, Commissioner, you can support whoever you'd like. Your support totals 30 points out of a 250-point application. That said, if anyone else wanted to move into this ward, it would have been appropriate for them to have reached out to you all already, because at this point, it's quite frankly too late.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of the last person standing.
I'm the only person standing, Commissioner Dwyer. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
No problem. The ANCs across both wards at this point, again, 5 and 3, are considering applicants, and ABRA has changed the timeline several times. So it's been a little confusing to sort of get a firm handle on what's happening, at least for the commissioners. And it was communicated quite late. I mean, just last week or so, I think there was a session held for commissioners. But other than that, there were very few communications that went out that were clear. But my understanding is that 3D has an applicant. And that's all I've been informed of inside of Ward 3. The rest are in Ward 5.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for the question.
Great. Seeing no other comments or questions from commissioners, Mr. Bernier, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, totally in support of putting a dispensary here. Driving additional business and foot traffic into our area can do nothing but help the community. And of course, accessibility to medicine that is important for so many people. So total support of this.
Great, thank you very much. Is there any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to voting. Commissioner Boucher wanted to, she texted myself and Commissioner Reba saying that for what it's worth, she supports the resolution, but unfortunately she cannot vote by proxy. Anyhow, so we'll move forward with the voting. All those in favor of the resolution as read by Commissioner Siddiqui, please raise your hand. All those opposed, I'll ask in a second. Okay, Commissioner Pagets and Commissioner Fink, I do not see either of you.
I'm still here, but on a different phone object. I am voting yes.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Fink. We lose Commissioner Fink. We may have lost Commissioner Fink. Okay.
think we lost.
So, all those opposed? All right, seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui and Commissioner Fink. Let's see, what do we have next?
I hope our residents benefit from this new operation.
I do as well. I look forward to seeing
Residual.
you in there, Commissioner Reba. You better be my first client.
I need a script.
You can self-certify now.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate
Yeah,
your time.
absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
No, and thank you also for your thorough presentation at the last meeting. I appreciate that. I thought it was great. Thank you.
One of the best presentations to our ANC.
Yeah, I'd like to echo. It was a beautiful presentation, and the operation looks 5 stars all the way. I wish you much success.
Thank you all very much. I received that and appreciate it. All right.
Thank you. All right, and moving on, we've got, I guess, this discussion of the Omni Showroom liquor license issue. Commissioner Dyer, if you want to.
Yes, so that, I don't believe I didn't see any of the neighbors. Are there any neighbors from the Omni Showroom on the call right now? Okay, so if that, then I'm just going to read something that, just to put it into the record here. Someone was supposed to be here, so hold on a second. Sorry. Okay, here's the comments that I want to put into the record. Immediate neighbors have had problems with the Omni Showroom over the past year since it reopened from the pandemic shutdown, including excessive noise from outdoor events, traffic congestion, trash and debris, and property damage from trucks in and around the loading dock on 28th Street, and unresponsive staff when neighbors have contacted the hotel to remedy these problems. The neighbors met with hotel management in May and June, and Mark Roche Garland, the hotel's general manager, has since acknowledged these issues and his intent to work amicably with the neighborhood to remedy. The neighbors and the Omni management hope to continue to work together such that a petition and formal agreement tied to the alcohol license documents is not necessary in the future. The neighbors have not requested any further action from the ANC at this time.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any discussion of the issues the Omni may be having?
Well, I would just like to, jump in for a sec and share that, a few may recall when there was an ABRA application at Cathedral Commons for Giant when they were up for renewal. And there were a number of concerns regarding that application, but as was brought to the attention of the commission at that time, issues that were raised had nothing to do with the ABRA application. Certainly the noise issue may obviously have to be addressed, but parking and damage and trash, that you can't really attach that to an application, an ABRA application. I don't know whether that would preclude us from moving forward, being that that's not really a viable petition against an application for a renewal of sorts. So I would just encourage the neighbors to continue to work with these, with the management at hand regarding the noise, but I would not like to single out the Omni Showroom. We've been very flexible with all of our businesses during the pandemic and post-pandemic to ensure these businesses continue to thrive. We know that various businesses have closed, and I would just like to support the hotel. I'd like to support the application and just help and guide, direct, and assist the residents with some of the issues that they're having to not impede this application, because this application obviously is paramount in order for the hotel to continue to do business, to continue to do indoor dining, as well as to host weddings and other receptions out on their terrace. And at the moment, the safest place to host these events is outside for those clients that are still weary of the pandemic. So I certainly wouldn't want to do anything to impede the hotel from continuing to do business.
Thank you, Commissioner Reba. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay. Anybody visiting us this fine evening? Do you have questions for Commissioner Dyer about the Omni or comments? Okay. Seeing none, that concludes our regularly scheduled commission business, and we will move on to the Secretary's report. Secretary Reba, could you kick us off?
I would, so please forgive me. Are we not voting on this?
I don't believe there's anything to vote on. Is that correct, Commissioner Dyer?
There's no motion.
There's no motion. So is it laying dormant or are we waiting for the public comment period to end?
I suppose we're waiting for the, I mean, it runs through July 25th. We haven't been asked to support. We're not, I mean, does the commission usually, or the ANC usually vote on every single ABRA license application?
No, can I interject here? Because I think the letter that Commissioner Dyer read explained that the community had decided that they were having cooperative talks with the hotel management and that they were not going to pursue a protest of the ABRA renewal license. So I think the point of having this on the agenda was to update us as to what was going on, make sure that we were aware of this issue. But as I understand it, Commissioner Dyer, there is no action from the ANC that is being requested at this point.
That is correct. It was the agenda item was put on because we needed to have an agenda a week in advance. It was put on in advance in case there was something that needed to be approved. The neighbors, as Commissioner McWood described, and as I said previously, the neighbors and the hotel have committed to resolving this amicably between the two of them, and they are not asking for any ANC action at this time.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll just add though that as I hear from my neighbors about complaints from that, because it's bordering my SMD currently too. I will also ask that they like abide by the rules and like I don't understand why they're not. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating neighbors across several SMDs.
Right.
It'd be Brian's, mine, Jason's, all of ours. So whatever we do.
Yeah, so the hotel has indicated that some of the lax enforcement was due to their understaffing because of, you know, the labor shortages that everyone's been experiencing.
Okay.
And that they have committed to enforcing their rules because they do have rules, event guidelines, and that is how it is related to the alcohol license because they are late night events generally involving alcohol, etc. But they have committed to enforcing their current guidelines, which do comply with the laws. And they have made some efforts to reduce the noise and to clean up the garbage after late night events and stuff. So, I mean, the hotel is acting in good faith. The neighbors think that they and the hotel believe that this can be resolved amicably.
Good. Great.
Thank you for
That's
that
awesome.
clarification. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Same.
All right, so moving on to the Secretary's report.
Thank you, Chair. If there are no objections or changes to the June 22nd, 2022 minutes of the ANC3C, I'd like to go ahead and move the minutes at this time.
I have one small change.
Yes, sir.
On the portion under other business, the fourth bullet, the intersection of Porter and Connecticut is dangerous for everyone.
Yes.
I was noting that in regards to the changes that are coming with the streetscape and redesign. So just if you add.
So forgive me because you broke up there. So add
Sure.
what?
Add, let's see, in regard to the Cleveland Park streetscape and drainage project.
How about this, if you may, would you just
Yep.
send that to me and then
Yeah.
I'll tweak it?
Yep, we'll do.
Okay, thank you for that clarification on that bullet. Thank you.
Thank you. Other than that, it's good for me.
Okay, let me make a note here. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Secretary Reba.
So do I hear a second? I move the minutes.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? All right.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those who forgot to vote? Okay. It passes. Thank you, Secretary Reba. Looks like we're missing Commissioners Fink and Hoyt and Boucher. Okay. So Treasurer's report.
We still have a quorum, right? Yes.
Yes, we still have quorum.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, there's 6 of us. Okay. So yes, Treasurer Siddiqui.
Thank you. I had sent the quarterly financial report for FY22 third quarter out by email, as well as supporting documentation and spreadsheet to the commissioners. I would like to move approval of the quarterly financial report.
So moved.
All right. All those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? All those not voting? All right. It passes. Thank you, Treasurer Siddiqui. Do you have anything else you'd like to add to that? Or is that the report? Okay.
I just wanted to report some expenses that we had this month. So we had Rachel Worsham, our administrator, was paid $515.68. We also had to pay Virginia tax of $44.28. Unemployment insurance to DC Office of Unemployment Services, $137.24. Paid family leave to the DC Treasurer, $10.94. And for the benefit of Commissioner Reba, I am also pasting this in the chat.
Thank you, sir.
And that's it for the treasurer.
Thank you, Treasurer Siddiqui. Okay, single member district reports. Commissioner Reba, throw it back to you.
Thanks. Well, I was.
Oh, I can give you my
treasurer report. No,
if you want, I can skip and come back to you.
No, I'm an octopus tonight. I can do it. Couple of things, just 3 things. Actually, maybe 2. I wanted to report out that while I was out on my well-deserved vacation, I received some phone calls and emails regarding buses double parked at the National Zoo during the week of July 6th and last week, July 13th and 14th. So I will be following up with that. The buses were at the National Zoo on Connecticut in the crosswalk and double parked as they were closing around 3:45, 4 o'clock, 4:15. Second thing I want to note as Commissioner Paget, myself, and you, Chair Finley, know and are aware of, there was some graffiti done to the beautiful mural down at Connecticut and Calvert on the east side of Connecticut, opposite Maryland Monroe. I did have a lengthy conversation today with Nancy Lyons, who is the Public Information Officer for DPW, and she also oversees the DC mural initiative. So there is a process to get this fixed. I don't know if you want me to go through it with you. I could certainly share it in an email offline. But the first step of the process is that she's going to be reaching out to the owner of the building. And if he hasn't been notified, she will notify him. But he will potentially determine next steps as to how he wishes to proceed. But the good news is there may have been a lacquer or a protective shield over the mural that with the proper hose and water treatment, that graffiti may come off. A lot of murals around town have had this coat applied once the mural is completed, so they can be hosed down. Sadly, on this roof, There is no water spigot or hose opportunity up there on the roof, to my knowledge. But that is certainly something we're going to look at. And DPW is going to look and help us try and clean up that mural with water. Just an FYI, the artist themselves is out of Arizona. And typically when there's been graffiti on top of a mural such as this, DC Murals will engage the artist to see if they can come back and fix the mural. And DC Murals will also find the funding. I'm not saying that the ANC may not be able to help if needed, but there is a process. There are systems in place to clean it, to provide the funding, to contact the artist, to get it rectified, and to bring it home.
That's really good news. I didn't know that about like the whole protective code. All right, that's awesome.
So it sounds like, Commissioner Reba, if we got a ladder and some super soakers, we could just take care of it tomorrow.
Let's do it.
A ladder and some super soakers. Potentially. And the last thing I guess, we should share, and forgive me if I get the date wrong, but we should put out an official notification that the Woodley Park's first 2022 Arts in Action, Arts All Night is, Commissioner Pagets, help me out here. I think it's September 24th, right? Hello?
Yeah, September 24th, the first art all night, and Robert has his name up, so I'll probably concede my time yet again to him.
Okay, yeah, Saturday, September 24th. So I know many of us are excited and looking forward to the first for Woodley Park. It's been very successful in Van Ness and across the city and all as far as Ward 8 and Old Congress Heights. So this is great that Woodley Park is finally part of the team and part of this exciting citywide event. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reba. Commissioner Pagets?
Well,
Yep. If you want to turn your time over to Robert.
Is Commissioner Fink still on or no?
He does not appear to be.
Okay, well then Robert can go because he's between us, and he can do Commissioner Fink's kind of jam if Robert wants to go. Robert from Woodley Park Main Streets.
Yes, Robert's the director. Robert, you want to give a quick overview of what's happened?
Yes, thank you, commissioners. I wanted to second Commissioner Reba's remarks about the mural. We've also seen that. I have a high pressure sprayer that can be used to remove graffiti from treated surfaces, and we have the same information that the surface was treated. I wouldn't want to do that until we have confirmation, because there's also a risk that when you spray something like that, that the spray can be intense enough to damage the mural itself. But if funding is needed, we'd be more than happy to help out. On Art All Night, we're very excited about that. The 24th is when we'll be doing that. We've been in discussion with a number of businesses in the neighborhood, and everyone from Open Cities to Maddie's and the Stanford Gallery and Bistro Bites, which is becoming Veganisha. They've all said that they're going to join in. I've spoken with the National Zoo. And basically, most of my job right now is simply putting on something interesting for that. I hope to be able to animate Marilyn Monroe. I think we'll just leave it at that. But we have a nice budget from the city, and I think we'll have a wonderful event on the 24th.
Great, thank you very much. We're all looking forward to it. So I guess it's my update. I don't have much to update. Construction is proceeding as part of the Cleveland Park Streetscape and Drainage Project. It's, the service lane still looks pretty atrocious. That will hopefully be remedied when this project wraps up, and we'll have a beautiful new space for folks in Cleveland Park. I think, and Cassandra, do you have anything you want to add from Cleveland Park Main Street?
The service lane will start, the construction will start this winter. So they will be at the corners of Connecticut. They'll be on Connecticut and Ordway starting in 3 more weeks, I believe. And they'll be at that intersection through the rest of 2022.
Thank you.
Could she, Ms. Heatherton, could you repeat that about when the service lane, because you were breaking up, my apologies, about the service lane beginning?
Oh, yeah, no, the construction is supposed to start on the service lane in this winter. So really late 2022, early 2023. And that'll be a 3 to 5 month endeavor.
3 to 5 months. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Commissioner Package, you have your hand raised. What's up?
Yeah, I think we might have neglected to announce some like overall things on Beach Drive. That meeting might have happened tonight, but public comments are still available on Beach Drive being closed to cars, open to pedestrians, open to life, however you portray this. Those meetings and those public comments through National Park Service, which is not in our jurisdiction, I think we should post those to our website.
Good idea. No,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
I think we should also post to our website the Cleveland Park, Woodley Park, the survey, if it's not already posted, to get the design guideline feedback, which is due in the middle of August. And then I think is there another streetscape meeting coming up? Not streetscape, sorry. And not bike lane, multimodal.
For clarification, are you talking about the Cleveland Park, Woodley Park survey for the Connecticut Avenue reversible lanes and multimodal safety project?
That was the third thing I was bringing up there. Yes.
Okay.
There are several surveys.
Okay, I may need to reach out to you privately, but okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting the gist of it. Okay.
No, but there are several surveys. There are several things out there that I think we should post on our website, and I think are overarching to all of our commissioner updates. And I'm sorry that we maybe should have done that better in the beginning, but Cassandra reminded me that there's a lot more going on than just Cleveland.
Yeah,
Park.
we'll update the website and get more pertinent information in the neighborhoods up there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Siddiqui.
Yes, so as tradition every meeting, I'll talk about Hearst Park and Pool. So there still is some issues with drainage at Hearst Park and Pool, but a lot of them are slowly being resolved. I actually visited the pool since our last meeting. It was crowded 4th of July weekend, and there were bicycles on the bicycle racks, and there was still parking available next to the pool as well. So that at least an indication gave me that at least during the weekend, it seemed like it was okay. We'll keep tracking that. If anyone has any comments, please reach out to me for Hearst Park and Pool. I'll continue to communicate with DPS and DGS as we go forward.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui. With Commissioner Hoyt and Commissioner Boucher absent, Commissioner Dyer, your turn.
I don't really have any other update other than the St. Albans issue and the Omni Shoreham issue are the two that we worked on in the past couple of weeks.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner McWood.
I wanted to update a comment that I made during the SMD reports last month. I promised that I would be circulating a resolution discussing DDOT's failure to respond to repeated requests for traffic calming on Lowell Street, including about 6 months worth of requests from the John Eaton School through the Safe Rides to School program for similar traffic calming. The very next day, I got an email from DDOT letting me know that they would be installing speed humps and speed tables on Lowell Street between 34th Street and 36th Street. I think it was had absolutely nothing to do with my comment the night before. And while I had anticipated and had requested a traffic study that involved the residents, that doesn't seem to be the way DDOT wants to operate these days. That the fact that they actually came to the conclusion that we needed speed humps and speed tables, I think is exactly what the community was requesting. So I am thrilled, and I'm not going to criticize DDOT tonight at all. I am actually praising DDOT. Speed humps and speed tables haven't been constructed yet, but I've been promised that they will be before school begins. So fingers crossed. Otherwise, in September, I'll be saying something different.
Commissioner McWood, I would like to disagree with you. I think this is all you're doing. You said it at an ANC meeting and now it happened. This is the most effective thing any ANC commissioner has ever done. And you should totally not take credit away from yourself for that.
I'm happy to accept credit.
And don't
No
forget,
problem.
DDOT was at our meeting last month, so.
That is true. That is true.
Thank you, Commissioner McWood. That brings us to the close of our meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
before we close out, can you or our administrator, Rachel Hun, update the website to include, we still have a vacancy for 3C08.
It's still not updated.
Dyer has not been updated. No, sir.
Yeah, good call. Thank you, Commissioner Reba.
Thank you. And we have not made a decision this evening regarding our August meeting. So before we close out, we need to do so.
Well, my understanding was that we were not having an August meeting. Is there any pressing business that would require us to convene?
Well, who knows? Anything could pop up.
Well, then if it does, we'll go through a proper notice period to let our community know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think it's scheduled on our calendar. I think
No.
it shows no meeting.
Yeah, I thought when we voted on this like a zillion years ago. Nancy's nodding along like, yeah.
Yeah.
We
We did.
Yeah,
It's a bit early for us to be getting punchy. It's only 9:15. Is there a motion to adjourn? And Commissioner Reba, thank you. Commissioner Reba, I answer your question. We're not having an August meeting.
Well, no, it wasn't so much that. It's just that not everybody may be aware of our meetings and not aware of our vote in January. So at a public meeting, we should put it out there that they
Good
will
idea.
be meeting in August and just follow those procedures. That's all.
Thank you. All right. And so I heard the vote or the proposal to adjourn. And seconded, and I heard everybody sort of cheer. So I'll take that as adjournment by acclamation. Thank you all. Have a great evening and see you in September.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.